everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. Today I am going to do, finally, update 36. And I'm going to show you what I've been up to. Once again, I'm working in an area that doesn't look like there's a lot taking place, but there's a lot of stuff I have done to try and make this little area come together. So, let's take a look. Okay, gang, the first thing we're going to look at is the lake area. I toned down the lake area by dribbling on some of this color, some of this light brown color here, over the dark black that I had stained all that territory with before. And then I came back and put some very light ground cover over the dark green ground cover for the most part, and I think that it has sufficiently toned it down to where it'll work in this area. Of course, I need to do more scenery. You can kind of see right here on the top of this area that I have put some ground cover on there, and it almost blends so well that you can't see the track behind there, and there is a track behind there. I kind of like the look. There needs to be weeds and bushes and trees and all kinds of stuff put in there, but it did tone the ground around the lake down. There was a misconception in the last video that I was unhappy with the look of the water in the lake, and that was not the case. It's the ground around the water. I also have figured out a way to tone down the rocks that I have in there. I have yet to do it, but I'll explain to you what I am going to do. Okay, I still have a lot of trash out here, as you can see, a lot of working materials and stuff. Have put some away. But let's start with the road. The road goes off of the layout here. I just had some leftover plaster I put in there. But you can see the road goes down, and there's a hump in the road there and a hump in the road there, which corresponds with a hump there and a hump there in the fascia. So the road will hump up and down over the scenery. If I kind of pan around like this, you can see that I've got the road going all the way down and under the bridges and off the layout back there. I have also painted across the top of the Cato crossing gate. And we'll take a closer look at that in a minute. But this is kind of gives you an idea of where that road goes off the layout, comes along, there's a four-way stop over there, will be a four-way stop, and then it continues on and goes down under the bridges and continues on highway, whatever it is. Now let's go down and take a closer look. Okay, this will be, and I misstated, this would be a four-way stop. It will not be a four-way stop. This highway here is a through highway. Okay, so the only stopping to be done will be here and coming across the track over there. You can see that I've taken my tar paper, which is what I make the road out of, and I think I've covered that before, making a large full-size template of all the road, and then laying that out on the tar paper and overspraying that with some white after taping it down, and then cutting it out, then coming in here and laying the road using a hot glue gun. And here I just stacked some foam and junk up underneath it. This is kind of unsupported, but it'll be supported once I put the scenery up to it. You can see the hot glue right here where I glued it at the bottom. You can see that I have made a patch in the road, but we'll get to painting the road and doing the lines here in just a minute. But you can see how the road will undulate with the fascia. Okay, so the road is tar paper, and that's basically how I did it. Now, to make it blend in, I painted across the existing Cato, if you will, railroad crossing. And I think in my opinion, that blends real well and takes a lot of the real modern concrete look out of that. I also intend, and I think I've talked about it before, on covering somehow, bringing the scenery up and covering a lot of this, what is showing here as exposed plastic. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to accomplish that yet, but we'll worry about that when I get that far. As far as painting the road, it was a mixture of acrylic black, and I use this basic acrylic craft paint, and I mixed the black and about 20% maybe gray. Then I painted the road, which really made it still look black. But then I went back with pan pastels and a gray pan pastel on a large brush, and let me see here, I don't see the brush off the top of my, here it is. A large brush and the pan pastel, and basically just wiped the road with the gray. Then I came back with a smaller brush and did the black in between, and of course the turning areas and all of that stuff. Out here you can see where a car was at the car stopped here, didn't know which direction they were going, and then proceeded to peel out, hit second gear here, and went on down the highway. What else can I tell you here? All the striping on the road, I'm not real particular on scale striping, so some of it may look big, some of it may look small, but the point of it is it's all there. I have made a white line across there for the stopping area. The railroad crossing symbol, a lot of you will ask about that. It is a template that is no longer available. I don't know who made them. I don't remember who made them. I think it was S&S Limited or somebody. But it was a brass template that you tape down over the road there, and then I had to use an airbrush to spray through to get the railroad stencil. Let me beam in on that a little bit and show you how well that worked. Okay, we're going to kind of zoom in here a little bit, and you can see how well the template works. That little railroad crossing symbol is only about 1 inch wide. But I have one on the other side, of course. And then if I slowly spin the camera around, you can see that down the road there I have one on each side of that crossing track. You also can see on the left hand side there, just behind the yellow pickup truck, that I have smeared some brown chalk onto the road accidentally. I am going to get that off with a dust dabber. I can pull that off of there with a dust dabber and not really affect what's under there, but I will tell you how that got there in a little bit. Now let's back up and kind of take a look at the overall area in the direction that we're looking right now. Okay, I think where we're going to start here is, I think this is a perfect spot for Brownie's gas station. I've got to get it cut in there better. As you know, or as I've said in previous videos, this is going to be a bridge over the stream, river, whatever you would like to call it, and it will go up the side of the mountain over here. Beyond Brownie's, you can see that I have added Rick's bridge, what would you call them, abutments along there. You can also see, maybe I can zoom in on this without getting too lost here. Hang on. You can also see that there is a railroad crossing sign there. You can see the railroad crossing sign down there. And you can also see that one of the local residents had a little problem negotiating the curve, has crashed through the abutment, down the side of the wash, and into the water. I will zoom in on that so you can get a little better look of the car in the water. We have a tow truck on site. I don't have people out for the tow truck yet. However, they will be there in the near future. This particular automobile, if I can get it back in focus, that automobile is a Woodland Scenics Lobner's Loading, I believe it's called. Had the trunk open and had the door open, and I just thought that it would make an excellent car to be the car that drove off into the river. You can see that they lost a tire, knocked a tire off the front of the car. I don't know if there was any injuries. I didn't get here till after the fact. You can see that the water is rushing around the nose of the car that's buried down in the water. Hope everybody made it out of there okay. Let's back out. By the way, let me spin around here and see if we can zoom in a little bit on the guardrail. Whoop, little too far. You can see that he knocked a good chunk out of the guardrail there. Lost the bumper, lost a couple of wheels. I'm assuming the tow truck will get him out of there. I have yet to touch up, as you can see, pink foam along the road there. I've yet to touch all that up, put something in there. That'll all be done later when I get the people out there. Let me back out just a little bit more, and we will talk about the taco stand. The taco stand, that's the existing driveway that I had on it on the previous layout. I'm going to remove it from that driveway, and that driveway will partially be on this side of the building, and it'll also encompass that triangular shape on the far side of the building over there as part of the parking lot as well. There'll be a retaining wall in between the track and the parking lot to keep the ballast where it's going to belong when I get done doing the ballast. But I'm pretty assured that that's where the taco stand will go. I like it there. I like the size of that building, and I like the size of Brownie's here. It's a little bitty gas station, but they fit the area very well. And the intent is to have a lot of these southwestern stucco type structures in this area. So the taco stand will go there. If we take a look on back, I can zoom in a little bit, I think. You can see that we have 3 levels of bridges. You can also see that the road continues and there's a car coming up to the railroad crossing. Now, if you allow me to move the camera, we'll take a look under there. Okay, now we've relocated the camera and you can see that the road curves, basically goes behind a little tiny bit of scenery there and evaporates off the edge of the layout back there. So pretty much, with the exception of putting in a few bushes, fixing the parking lots on the buildings, of course. Let me back up here. Just some basic touch-up stuff. The majority of the work on the bridge canyon here is done to the point that I can start getting back to doing train work, okay? I was planning on putting houses in this area right here that you see vacant. There may be a house or two in there, but there's also going to be some buildings in there. There will also be housing behind where all the tools are sitting back there. That's all going to be part of the town, the civilization part of the town, I'm hoping, in between which may be some businesses. I know the older parts of Las Cruces here. We have some of the older, way older neighborhoods with a lot of the Spanish architecture, the adobe houses and so forth. And mixed in those neighborhoods used to be your local neighborhood, little tiny grocery store, your little store that sold piñatas or whatever the case may be. But back in those days, everybody seemed to have their own little business near their house, or at least in the neighborhood. So that's kind of the idea of what's going to go on back there. Not a lot of commercialization stuff. Anything that's going to be commercialization is probably going to be out here along the highway. I may even make a road up the hillside back there where you can see that red handle for the razor saw. There may be a road, angular road, that goes up there across the track and up into the mountains there, or up into the hills there, and there may be a couple of casitas up there in the hills. We'll find out about that when I get that far as well. When I swing around here, I don't have a lot of room between tracks here to do any kind of houses and casitas or whatever the case is, so there will likely be more foliage and stuff there, and yuccas and basic scenery stuff, rather than any houses. I don't want to pack this all in with houses, but I do want it to look like a little bitty mini community, which surprisingly the houses back then were very, very small, with the exception of the rich people in town, and we don't know if this town has any rich people. So that's kind of going to be how the area is going to be built in there. I'm going to take and lift the camera up and show you how that road disappears back there, and show you another little thing that I think I mentioned I screwed up on the last video. Okay, from this angle you can see how the road gets very narrow back there and then disappears behind the scenery. What you also may or may not be able to see is this white spot back here behind the bridge. Well, that's what happens when you're an idiot and you plaster over the lights to your lightning and thunder. So I had to dig that out, dig the light out, and now the light for the, well, that one light on one side is now mounted to the back of the bridge. You can't see it, as you can see, you can't see it from any angle, which is good. The other one is mounted right behind the hillside here. And let's give it a shot. So now I have both lights working, pretty impressed with it. Let's see if we can take a shot of that with the lights off. It's a shock for my camera, of course. Pretty bright. What I might do is I might try a piece of white fabric or something over that light, as you do in cameras, to tone down the harsh brightness of it. And that, by the way, is only 3 LEDs on each side of that bridge. I cut the LED strips way down. I could probably get by with just 1 LED on each one of those and still be effective. Well, let's put the lights back on and wrap this up. Okay, one other thing I found out is, you remember my brush that I was telling you about that I was using with the pan pastels? I found out you can pan pastel these rock colors on. I also found out I can tone down rocks that are too dark and so forth, and I'll show you that in a second. But let me swing around here without jerking your head off. You can see here that I did these rocks along here with the pan pastels, and I'm very happy with the way it tones them up. So I'm going to use that technique a little more around the layout. Let me take you over here to some rocks that you've already seen by the mine and show you what I did there. Okay, these rocks right in here I thought were a little bit dark, and they may still look dark in this video, but in real life they don't look so bad. But I took basically the white pan pastels and I just brushed over them with the white, and it really lightened them up a lot from being so dark, so really dark. And I like that. And the good thing about the pan pastels is that you can keep using different colors of them until you get the external color that you actually want. So you can keep goofing with it, put gray on it, put white on it, you can go put back and put black on it. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. I found it works very well. I also used the pan pastels on that wood retaining wall down there, and I think it brought out a lot of texture on that retaining wall. So I'm going to apply some more of this around the layout where I think that I need it. There's not a lot of places yet, but when I get around to this Stark area, like that hill back over there needs some, and some of this along here needs some toning of rocks and so forth. Oh, I'm going to add one other thing in here, but I want to use the toning of rocks with the pan pastels around here and see how that works out. Let me show you something else in regards to the road. Okay, as we discussed, there's going to be a bridge across here, and then I'm going to have to level out some of this, and that road is going to go up this hill pretty near the fascia. But when it gets around over here, I was going to cut this hill and go through there and then cross the track like right over here in front of the locomotives. I have changed my mind, and I am now going to cross the track back there, get in between the two tracks, and go around the back side instead of cutting that hill out. So that hill will remain. There'll be a honor system railroad crossing right here where you're going to have to stop and make sure there's no trains coming. But it'll just access the businesses that are going to go up there on top. So anyway, that's about all the changes I've made. I'm going to show you one other thing before we go today, and that'll be it. Okay, I think I had mentioned that I had gotten this trivet from my mother-in-law's stove. Someone made it. It's all glass, and someone made it. It's not painted on glass. It's done with glass. So I'm not sure exactly how they did it, but they did it, and I always liked it. And I now have it, and it is now part of the fascia on the layout. And every time I look at it, it will remind me of my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house, which in my case is a good thing. I also, by the way, did clean out some of the model kits, some of the ones that I wasn't too interested in. They will go out in the shed. I'm not getting rid of them, but they will go out in the shed. That's it for today, guys. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed Update 36. And as usual, thanks for watching.